You're live. You good, Doc? Oh, can't
Uh,
see.
all right. Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. McCarrig. I'm the principal here at Rancho Verde High School, and I want to thank you for joining us this evening for our NCAA Student Athlete Parent Information Night. So we are really excited to be joining you all and having us together via YouTube. So shout out to all of you watching us live. This is going to be recorded and held in our Rancho Verde YouTube site. Like I said, I'm Dr. McCarrick. I've been principal here at Rancho Verde this is my 5th year now. And I first of all have to just welcome all our new families to Rancho Verde. You have picked a great place for your students' high school experience. When you do come to Rancho Verde, you're not only able to participate in an award-winning and amazing athletic program, but also receive an excellent top-notch education. So this evening we have a panel of experts, both from professional and personally, with lots of experience about high school student athletes and the world they live in, as well as beyond if your goal is to become a college athlete. So tonight with us, and I'll let them introduce themselves and give themselves a little more information. We have Mrs. Robin Ellison, who is our NCAA counselor here. She works with a lot of our student athletes. She also has a caseload of our RV scholars and our AVID students. We've got Mr. Carlos Hernandez, who is a former Rancho Verde former Rancho Verde student athlete. Graduated from here, went off and was a student athlete in college and is now back serving in his community as a math teacher with us. We also have Miss Brittany Bozeman. She is a Rancho alum, and she'll share a little bit about what she's up to, and both she and Carlos will share what they did, what sport they played in and participated in during high school and college, and what they're doing with that now. And then we also have Mr. Steve Ferreira, who is our athletic director here at Rancho Verde. So I'm going to begin with Mr. Ferreira, if he could say a little bit more about himself and his experiences with the student athlete world.
Thank you, Dr. McCarrick. First, I want to apologize for the technical difficulties. My camera keeps freezing, so you'll have to make do with my Bitmoji for tonight. I'm excited to be here with you guys, and a little bit more about myself. This is my 3rd year here. I've been an athletic director for 9 years now, and this, like I said, this is my 3rd year here at Rancho Verde. I was a college athlete and a high school athlete as well. I played baseball at CVU, and it was a great time, a great experience for myself. I love working here with such great athletes and coaches and staff. We get a lot of good things done and get to see a lot of kids be very successful. So I'm excited to be part of this panel tonight and just be a part of the Rancho Verde family. For my career here.
Thank you. Ms. Bozeman, why don't you share a little more about yourself and what you're doing now too, and what you did in high school?
So I graduated from Rancho Verde in 2009. I got a full ride scholarship to Ole Miss running track. In high school, I ran track and played basketball. I was a state champion and a Division I champion and a semi-finalist in basketball. Once I attended Ole Miss, the University of Mississippi, I became a SEC record holder in the long jump heptathlon. I also was ranked number 3 in the world and number 2 in the nation. And I was part of the USA trials, Olympic trials, as a freshman in college and also a junior. And then I transferred to San Diego State, which is where I graduated from, and got my degree in psychology and child development. And there I also ran track on a scholarship, and we were team champions. And now I am teaching at a private school, and I'm also part of administration there. So, and I coach at Rancho, track and field, and I'm the jumps
Yes.
coach. I love it.
Yes, she was part of the coaching staff for our state championship boys track team back in 2017, right?
Yes.
2017, yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hernandez.
You're on mute, Carlos.
You're on mute, or we can't hear you. We'll give Mr. Hernandez a second to fix it. It's our technical difficulties. We just have to roll with it. All right, so we're gonna skip on to Mrs. Ellison.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy that you are able to join us this evening. It is my pleasure to work at the Rancho Verde High School. This is my 14th year. My caseload consists of avid and scholars, but I've been working with NCAA athletes for over a decade. I've had the #1 athlete in the nation at that time, spent a lot of time working with college coaches, students, and parents. And so I'm very happy to be here tonight. I love being a counselor and helping our athletes make sure that they can qualify and try to help them to make sure that they, that they're supported during their high school and college journey. I keep in contact with lots of my students. So I love the fact that tonight I get to pass along some of that information, and I'm just happy to be here. Thank you.
It's so funny. Coach Collier and I are actually talking about that, Mrs. Ellison, how you still help a lot of the same, students from high school with some of the things going on in college. So we were just talking about that and how helpful and supportive you are to them. All right. So back on with us is Mr. Hernandez.
Hello?
Yep, you're there.
It works?
Yep, you're on.
Can you hear me well, or is it like really low?
No, we hear you well.
Oh, okay,
You're
okay.
good.
No, every time I start charging it, it always messes with the audio. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Hope I didn't interrupt anyone. I'm sorry.
So
Oh,
you're
there's
up.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So hi everyone. I'm Carlos Hernandez, and yeah, like Dr. McCarrick said, I graduated from Rancho back in 2012, and yes, I was a student athlete. I played football, and I got my diploma, and I think I was on I think I forgot what the correct term was, but I know I was like in the top 10% of like the graduating class in terms of academically. I forgot what my GPA was, but like SAT scores and stuff. But yeah, and then from Rancho, as a football player, we won the CIF I think in 2011, and then from there I got a full ride scholarship to Stony Brook University in New York. And yeah, that time in New York was a wonderful experience. We won the Big South, I believe, my freshman year, and then I think I just made a lot of great friends out there, especially being in New York. I would have never imagined in my entire life that I would have went to college out there. That was something that it truly was a blessing. But yeah, now once I graduated from there with my bachelor's in sociology, I came back and now went back to school, and now I'm a teacher here at Rancho.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can you hear a little more about that, about how, being a student athlete and doing well academically can just open up doors for you all, right?
Oh, yeah.
And even with the traveling and being able to have these opportunities to go to college out of state. So we'll talk a little more this evening about that. But we're going to jump right in with the first question. So I have some questions, and everyone, we'll just start and go around. But first of all, in your current and or past roles, how do you promote student success among student athletes? So I'm going to give that over to, I'll start off with Mrs. Ellison.
Okay. Okay, I think one of the ways that I try to promote student success among athletes is I try to make sure, #1, that they have the knowledge base, that they're taking the right core classes. And for those of you that don't know, every school has a list of classes that's NCAA approved that you need to do. It's kind of like the A through G's to get into college, but it's like that way for athletes. So I have to make sure that your students are taking the right classes. I also stay on them about their grades. We talk a lot about not procrastinating And I also like to tell them about different stories that some of my other athletes have shared with me so they can kind of learn from some of their situations. And I call that having real conversations with them. I also want them to know what's coming. So that's why I kind of share a lot of those stories. I also definitely joke with my student athletes and say, hey, your coaches get to make you better players. I get tasked with making you a better person. Now, coaches don't get mad. I know coaches also do that too, but that's what I tease them. I know. I know coaches do that. But so for example, sometimes players may even be having an issue with their coach or their parents or their peers or their teachers. And then I get to have those conversations and say, hey, you know, what's your role in it? What can you do to make the situation better? So basically for me, I try to treat them with that holistic approach, not just on the field or on the court, but in the classroom, at home, out in the community. We talk about lots of different things. And so for me, helping promote real success in our athletes is getting to them to focus not just on the court or on the field, but also off.
I like that. No, and I think one thing I've seen from you is you truly want students to be well-rounded. And that's important, especially when you're getting ready to apply to colleges. That's one thing that they look at. How about you, Mr. Ferreira?
Yeah, you know, as an athletic director, you know, promoting success among the athletes looks, you know, a variety of ways. Like I get to work with them one-on-one, you know, regarding their grades. Sometimes I get to coordinate with the coaches and help support them in many different ways as far as, you know, what's going on in their programs. And I also get to, you know, to recognize the students who are doing well academically and also on the field. You know, we do scholar athlete awards, and we do, you know, athlete of the year and those sort of things. So, you know, I get a chance to work, you know, along the side of the athletes with the coaches and watch them, you know, be successful, you know, throughout their season, or, you know, on and off the field, both academically and, you know, athletically. So for me, it's kind of multiple facets too. Is, you know, I get to see them, you know, doing well on their grades, and if they're not, I get to jump on them and you know, remind them that the success begins in the classroom. And I think that's one of the things that we try to, you know, hit home with most of the athletes that come through us is academics comes first, and that's where your success is going to, you know, occur.
Awesome. And as classroom teachers, Ms. Bozeman, Mr. Hernandez, how do you promote that student success among the student athletes you come in contact with? And I know you also coach, so how does that happen?
I don't know if Carlos wants to go, but I'll go. As a coach, for me, I always remind the students that they are student athletes. So student comes first and athlete is second. And without being a good, at least a good student, there's no athletics behind it. You have to have a certain GPA in order to even participate in athletics. So I always tell them, make sure you communicate with me. I mean, I understand sometimes we have papers we have to write or extra homework. Come talk to me and I understand. You need to go home and take care of your work. So I try to keep an open line of communication with my athletes. I support them, and I've been where they are, and I've been where they're trying to go. So it's like, okay, go handle your schoolwork and we'll make this up some other time.
Good, thank you. How about you, Carlos?
Yeah, for me, I think it's sharing them more of the experiences, like Ms. Bozeman said, stuff that like I went through or other things that friends have gone through, especially in the high school level. For me, I knew academics was obviously very important for what I wanted, what my goals were. You know, playing sports at the high school level, yeah, there's the minimum GPA of a 2.0, I believe. But I know a lot of students and a lot of athletes do have goals of playing at the collegiate level, and making that minimum 2.0 isn't enough. They want to see more. Like, I know it shows their dedication to being a well-rounded student, not just an athlete. Being that way, if they get to the collegiate level, the coaches know that's not something they have to worry about. With coaches will focus more on their athletics while they know that they can count on them to be responsible in the classroom. I've had several teammates, friends who were amazing athletes, kids that you would have expected to have gone to a Division I college, but academically they didn't put the effort, and they were out practicing and doing all the right things on the field, but in the classroom they didn't focus enough. They didn't really take the time out of their day to do their homework, to study the little things, the ones that make them more attractable to universities.
That's good advice. Thank you. All right. And I think the next one I'm going to throw out to both Carlos and Brittany, and even Mr. Ferreira, who was a college student athlete, and a high school student athlete. But what are some challenges that student athletes may face in college, and what can they do now to address those challenges?
Would you like to go, Brittany? Or,
You can go
If you guys want to go.
you got it, Furrow?
So I got a couple things that I know that they'll definitely, being a college athlete, one thing you're gonna face at some point is adversity. Because the transition from high school to college is a big jump, and it can be enormous depending on where you go, as far as the caliber of play and what can be expected of you. So facing adversity as a college athlete is definitely something that's gonna occur. Whether you're used to being the star on the field, you may not be that star right away, and you're gonna have to work. And I think that sometimes that can be overwhelming for a college athlete, especially a freshman, going from being the star athlete on whatever program they're in, and being the main focus, to being someone who may not be playing a role at all. And so that kind of adversity sometimes can be mentally challenging for a young athlete. And I think as far as what they can do now to address those challenges is stay focused and take every adversity that comes to you now in high school, whether it be you messed up a play, or you're struggling with a class, or you're struggling with a certain something that's going on in your program, and take the mindset that like you're going to overcome it, and that's just a stepping stone. Like you just have to stay focused and maintain that and believe that you can succeed, because many of the things that you're going to encounter as an athlete are mental, and the more that you believe that you can succeed, the better chances you will have to also to overcome.
How about you, Mr. Hernandez?
I guess one of the challenges for me that I could talk about was being away from home. Going to New York, that was a big life-changing moment for me. I had never really been that far away from my family, especially for long periods of time. That's something that it takes a toll on some people, especially mentally. And a lot of my friends in college, some of them live nearby, some of them like an hour away. But for me, it was a 6-hour flight every time I wanted to see my family. So that was one thing that, one challenge that I had to face. And for me, addressing it, there's really no easy way to address it. You're going to be away from your family. Just realizing and accepting what is at stake, and knowing okay, I'm not doing this just for myself, thinking about the big picture, to help your family, and then understanding that it's going to be tough. And but I guess for me, it was calling my family all the time, calling my brother, calling my mom, calling my dad, letting them know that I was okay. Updating them on what was going on the field and in the classroom, life in New York. It was nice, and it made the time there not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Being away from family. I almost said no to the scholarship. That was because I was really scared of going far away. It was a terrifying something to think about. But thank God everything worked out well. And yes, I'm very glad and very blessed that I went to New York for that with a full ride. But yeah, that's one challenge that I faced. I know a lot of student athletes and a lot of high school students aren't ready for that yet, but it will happen. It's just knowing that there's the bigger picture, going to college, playing at the collegiate level, and then getting the job done.
Thanks. How about you, Miss Bozeman? I know you traveled across the country to go to college.
Yes, I'm so opposite of Carlos. I could not wait to go. But challenges that I see with student athletes and just students like freshmen going into college in general is time management. In college, you have so much more free time, but it's not free time. You're not in class from 7 in the morning all the way until 3. You have class for an hour, then you're out for 2 maybe, or then you go back for an hour. So you have time in between. And as student athletes, I know for myself, those time periods I had practice. So it wasn't even like I can go home and take a nap or anything. So I had to really get a planner and start planning my days out as a freshman, because it was just like, okay, I have class at 8 o'clock, but then I have workouts at 10 or whatever. And then tutoring, because it's mandatory for freshmen. So you have to fit that into your schedule. So time management, the times when you think you can go play on your video games, you can't. That's the time you need to be doing your work because it will catch up. And if you're traveling, I know during spring, that was track seasons. Spring was our time of the year. And so I was gone from Wednesday all the way till Sunday night, which means I only went to school Monday to Tuesday, and Monday and Tuesdays are 2 different classes. So it's like I'm missing Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday school. So you really have to just make sure time management is very key. It's, you think you have time to write a paper, but you don't. Like, it comes so quick. So that'll probably be one. And there's probably others, but that's a key, right? Their time management, that's going to be the biggest focus. That's one of mine that I tell all my freshmen or kids going into their freshman year of college. Make sure you have time management.
Right. And I think that's something that we try to stress even at the high school, right? Like, it's good practice because it's good preparation for what to expect in college, especially if you're playing sports right now. You've got practices in the evening, you got games on Friday nights, you still got homework, you still got responsibilities and chores at home. Time management's a big one. Mrs. Ellison, is there anything that, when you hear back from your former students and their student athletes in college, are there any challenges that you hear any different from this?
I'd like to echo basically what they all said. They hit on the big ones, kind of like Mr. Ferreira started out being that little fish down a big pond, but now they're having to compete with everyone that was their top athlete at their school. And just my advice to them, don't give up, start all, it's okay, you can do it, believe in yourself. Mr. Hernandez did a great job of touching up. We have students that have grown up in California their whole lives. And now they're in Utah or Nebraska. It's a different culture. It's a different environment. The weather's different. And so you kind of have to mentally prepare for that now. And then I would like to add too, at a lot of the big schools, sometimes you have mandatory tutoring, you have academic advisors that work with you, but a lot of our student athletes sometimes go to other Division I or Division II schools or 3, and they may not know those resources. So I would like to encourage students, no matter where you go, seek out those resources. So they're there. You just may have to look for them a little bit more so you can get that help ongoing. And that's the only thing I would probably just add is when you do go away to these campus, a lot of them are far away from home and you're going to be out of your comfort zone, but you can do it. But definitely make sure that you have those resources to assist you during that time period.
Right. Don't be afraid to get help, right? All right. For the next one, what can high school student athletes do now to prepare to compete at the collegiate level academically and athletically? So I'm going to start with Mrs. Ellison. So what do you think that these high school aspiring student athletes that want to go on to college and play their favorite sport, their passion, what could they do to prepare academically?
Okay, I would start off academically speaking that I would encourage them to take the most rigorous courses to prepare them for college work. If they have pretty good grades, I would definitely encourage them to consider taking an AP class because college courses want to recruit students that can handle college level work. They're investing in you. They're spending a lot of money. Some of these scholarships are worth $240,000. So they want to make sure that you can handle college work. So that's what I would say, challenge yourself in the classroom as well. And then learn how to balance academics and athletics. I think Miss Brittany did a great job earlier mentioning time management. That's an excellent skill to work out now at the high school level. I could remember a student who was like a big time, he went to USC football program, and I went to visit with him and his roommate, and they showed me their schedule, and literally he had from Sunday to Monday, every day, no days off, where he had to be somewhere, he had to do something, he had to travel or film. So if you think it's rough now, you got to get mentally and emotionally prepared for what's to come. So start really working on those time management skills now. And at the end of the day, remember, you're a student athlete. You need to maintain your grades to play. And then I would say athletically, making sure that you're working out in whatever capacity you can. I know right now for a lot of students are just now being able to start to condition, and they may not have been able to go to the gyms and stuff. So use whatever resources you can. If that means doing drills around your house or doing whatever you can, try to work out, do that. And then finally, I would say set academic and athletic goals for yourself. For example, what's your target GPA? What's your time? Set those goals, and that will help you out at the next level too.
Awesome. Mr. Ferreira, how about you? What do you think student athletes can do to prepare to be successful academically and athletically at the student level or at the college level?
Yeah, I think Brittany, she hit on it earlier. It's time management right now. You're learning, you're training, because you do have to juggle missing class. You're probably not going to be gone for half the week, but you're going to miss, a couple classes, maybe a couple times a week, and academically staying on top of your work and not falling behind and staying organized are good character traits to develop in high school that will help you be successful in college, and in learning how to manage, what work you have to get done, what work you missed, what you need to make up because you weren't there, those sort of things, learning the responsibility of taking care of those things. And it starts as a freshman because as freshmen, that's where you see them struggle the most in my years, in my experience, because they don't believe that it matters yet, because they're to them, college is so far off, and it's really not. It's a blink of an eye and you're there. So, taking the time to make sure you organize and manage your time and stay on top of things academically is going to help you, prepare to do that in college. And then, athletically, it's get better every day. It's compete with, yourself and those around you, depending on what it is, what sport you're playing, but it's constantly trying to get better. Like you're never there, you're never done. And you can always be that, that leader out there, athletically, take someone who takes charge, because college is like, athletes who are going to be well-rounded and well-versed in their sport, but other sports as well. And so, being that kind of athlete out there and taking charge and being a leader, being a role model, all those things will turn heads when you're out on the field, aside from your skills. So just continue to get better every day.
Right. And I think like those are all skills that take you even beyond college,
Yeah.
All those character traits that, I think as student athletes, you get, like those of you that are former student athletes have so many different experiences and have to have certain characteristics to make it to that point, right? To be able to handle competition and that balance. And, those are traits that you need in the workforce. So
Yeah,
Brittany,
sure.
Carlos, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, those were all awesome, like pretty much what I want to say, but I would like to include that, especially during these times of COVID right now, if your grades are slipping right now, good thing we have time, because right now it's time to like learn how to go back to time management. How can we fix this or ask for help? I think preparing for college and all that, you're going to sometimes be put in situations where you're going to need to ask for help. And so right now you can actually kind of mimic and act like you're in college because you're online doing virtual learning. And so if you're falling behind right now and you have so much time in the day, it's just imagine yourself in college, So see where you are right now and see where you can get better. And like, okay, I need to spend a little more time reading my books instead of sleeping or whatever it is. I think this is a great time to start practicing good habits for preparing yourself for college. And then for athletically, I think, you have to keep that mindset that some of us are on scholarship or some of you may be on scholarship and the next season isn't promised. There could be somebody coming in who's better and they might take your spot. You never know. And you have to remind yourself that coaches, they're here trying to make a living for their family too. So your success is kind of their success and your downs are kind of their downs. So you have to make sure you are ahead. So with this time being at home during COVID, I would say, make sure that when you do have free time and you're done with all your schoolwork or whatnot, that you work out, stay in shape, do whatever you need to do. Ask your coaches to send you work out so you can do it at home or whatever. Yeah.
Thank you. How about you, Carlos?
For me, there was a couple of things I think that they had mentioned. One was Mrs. Ellison, she had mentioned taking more rigorous courses, which I agree completely. I struggled going into college because I didn't take the time in high school or middle school to be a better writer, to read books more often. I didn't really work on those skills. And in college, that is a big part of college, unless you're going to be, I'm not sure, like strictly math or whatever other majors there are. But reading and writing is a big part of college, especially in those first 2 years, though, what do they call those classes? The those intro classes, right? The general ed, where it's a lot of reading and a lot of writing. I didn't take any AP English classes in high school. I know that I had other friends who took them, and those classes were challenging for them, but it helped them in college. You didn't hear about them struggling. I would ask for their help to revise my papers, to help me send a professional email, to help me with my what's it called, my resume and other things like that. So those were things that I lacked, things that I didn't take advantage of in high school. Now I have to look for tutors, I have to ask for help. And while my friends, they were amazing when it came to writing. So that was one. Definitely challenge yourself now in high school. Another one was developing good habits, like Brittany had mentioned. If you're going to sleep at 2 a.m. playing video games, that's not good. Your body needs to sleep. If you're going out eating burgers and pizza every day, that's also not good. It's those little habits, changing your diet a little bit, sleeping earlier, waking up a little earlier, taking the time to study a little more, managing those little things, especially if you want to compete at the collegiate level where everyone is trying to make it, everyone's trying to take your spot, unless it's like an individual sport like wrestling where you're competing against yourself, but still there's still need other individuals in the weight class. So it might bring in someone else. So it's the little things. And then athletically, back to the little things, taking the time to work out a little more. You guys will have your practices, those designated times, the designated workouts, where you're going to lift from 5 to 6. But what are you doing after that? What are you doing to help yourself? I remember the summer before my senior year, I was working out on the field with my receivers almost every day. And it helped out big time when it came to the season. It just felt so easy. It was like clockwork. The ones that I worked out with all the time, there's that connection on the field in the games. It was like clockwork. So it's just taking that, if you really want to develop your skills, going above and beyond, doing the other extra things that other athletes aren't doing. Maybe they're not using their Saturday morning to exercise, to get that extra run in. Their Friday night after a game, I remember people, when I was in high school, they would go to a party. I went home, I watched the game again. I watched the film. I went home, I watched film, and then I got ready on Saturday to go work out. And then I rested because I knew my body needed the rest. And those, I said
Sorry.
those good habits, develop those habits now, work on the little things now.
Good. Thank
I would like to
you.
add something to
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
Because I don't want to scare the kids around and be like, no, you can't play video games or anything.
yeah.
But it's just, it's like we have to know our why and why we are doing this and why you're doing this. Like you have to have a purpose. If it's to, oh, I'm doing this so I can have a free ride to college and just get an education, great, that's your why. Some are, oh, I want to be an NFL player. Okay, great. So with that why, now you have to create things that are like, okay, how am I going to get here? How am I going to achieve my why? How am I going to achieve my goal? And with that, you can set aside time like, okay, I've practiced, I went to class today, I wrote my paper, I did what I need to do. Now I can give myself half an hour to relax and do whatever I want to do.
Because there were days where I played video games till like 2 a.m. But I was also doing the other things. There was other days where I went to sleep at 9:30 at night to wake up at 5 to go work out. Just
right. So it's just like, again, time management. You can have fun. It's not to scare anyone. It's like you can still have fun. I think college, actually, high school was really fun for me. I loved high school, and then I really loved college. And it's just however you make out of whatever you make out of it. You can have a great time, or you can have it was okay time. It just it's up to you. But you should always remember your why and why you're doing it. It helps.
That's excellent advice. I think, that's excellent for young people and older people, always remembering your why, right? So what advice can you give parents of student athletes? We've got a lot of parents watching this to help them guide their son or daughter towards success academically and athletically. So Mrs. Ellison, you work with a lot of families. How would you answer this?
This is a good one. I always enjoy this with the families. I would say parents, I would definitely encourage you to support your students, but without putting too much pressure on them. I think sometimes we forget what it's like to be a teenager and trying to balance so many different activities. So I would just like to don't put so much pressure on them. And I know that's a fine line for parents. I get it. So, but student athletes have lots of pressure, even outside of being a regular teenager. They're practicing lots of hours. They are trying to be consistent on their high school teams. They're trying to impress college coaches on top of that. And if they're being recruited, they have so many different eyes on them already. So they really just need your support. And then I would also say this, parents, make sure that you have your downtime. I know everyone focuses on the students, but to me, you got to treat everybody. And so for parents, I know you guys drive them to practice. You have their snacks, and forget about it if they're on a travel team. I know what that's like. You don't have weekends. You don't have that kind of stuff. So just make sure that you're taking care of yourself. So then that stress on you doesn't trickle down to your students. So make sure that you're in a good place too. That way you can help support your kids and encourage them, because they're going to have good days and they're going to have not so good days, and then they're going to have some bad days in there. So if you're well, then that will trickle down to them. So I definitely would say that. And then academically, make sure you check up, on their grades, look in areas, talk to teachers, contact their counselors if you have questions about that, especially with distance learning right now. I think you're going to even have to take a bigger role in your son's or daughter's education. So that's what I would kind of say my advice to parents. So support them without too much pressure. All right.
No, that's great advice. Mr. Farah, I saw you unmuted yourself. Did you want to add to that answer?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's Ms. Ellison, that's right on the head. Support them, give them some guidance, but not too much pressure. It's not, make sure that they don't feel like the world's coming down on them because they got to get a certain grade. Academically is always, that's always great advice. I was thinking, what I would tell parents, about athletic wise is, especially, young kids, maybe freshmen, maybe even middle school or, elementary school, if you're listening to this, parents, let the kids be well-rounded. Let them play multiple sports. I think we've gone to a lot of specialization in athletics, and I think when you get to the college level and even beyond, they really look for athletes that are well-rounded and have the ability. It doesn't mean you have to play club in everything, or you might have your one sport that you excel in, but you might have a love for another sport. And I would say don't let your main sport be the reason why you don't get to enjoy playing another sport as well. So let them play whatever they want to play. Don't feel like you have to specialize in anything, because and on top of that, let them rest. You don't have to play year round, and right now we can't play, so this has kind of been a different setting with the whole pandemic, where there is no sports going on really. It's just starting back maybe, but I know for years I've known lots of people who it's every weekend it's tournaments, and during the week it's every night it's practice, and it's nonstop. And then by the time it really counts, there might be a little bit of love lost there because they're just so burned out. So I think keep an eye on that as a parent. Is your son or daughter losing that luster, that love for a sport because they're just burning out? Maybe they need a break. So sometimes you feel like you're going to miss something, and I'm just here to tell you you're not going to miss something. Like there's always going to be an opportunity. So taking that time off and spending time with family, it's important for the development of a well-rounded athlete.
That's awesome. Thank you. Brittany and Carlos, what was one thing, looking back at your experience as in high school and college as a student athlete, what was one thing that you think that you look back and you can really appreciate about your parents doing for you during that time?
Oh, well, so I was a district transfer. So I was supposed to go to Canyon Springs. I lived over there. So every morning my mom would drop me off, and I had a 0 period. So my mom would drop me off. It would be like 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I had basketball practice, then wouldn't end till like 8 at night. So I was at school from 6 in the morning all the way to 8 at night. And my mom, she brought me dinner. She made sure I was set. And then she did not miss a game. Like she was very supportive. She did not miss a basketball game, a track meet, nothing. She was there. She was the team mom, just awesome. So I'm really grateful for her and thankful for her, because a lot of my teammates didn't have that. And so I think that really helped with my success, honestly, knowing that I had a supportive parent.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I agree 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I had the same thing.
With my parents as well. My mom take me to practice every day while my dad was at work, or my dad being the one on the weekends to bring me back to Rancho on a Saturday, because I didn't drive at the time because I didn't get my license until I was 18. But no, there was it was that support from my parents, especially as an elementary, like between 5 and 10. At that age, we don't know what we're capable of in terms of athletically. We don't know how good we are. We don't know what the potential we have is. So the parents, they're the ones that could probably see that at an early age, and then seeing them develop and then pushing them, because I didn't want to practice. I just wanted to play in the street, play hide and go seek, play random games with my friends, and I enjoyed that. But at least initially having that guidance from my dad to take me and to work on the little things to become a better athlete, or to throw more accurately, or to run a little faster, a little more flexible, which I still need to work on. But getting me a gym membership, the little things, the ones stuff that, like Brittany said, a lot of students aren't that fortunate to have that support from their parents to give them that little push, because I would not have wanted to wake up at 7 in the morning on a Saturday. Early on, it was more my dad pushing me, but then I kind of got the hint, and then I started doing it on my own. That's when I didn't need that little extra push from my parents, and I knew what it took to be a better athlete. I knew what I had to do. I knew what other students weren't doing. So it's initially, yeah, the parents are gonna have to give them a little push, but then there'll come that time where you could kind of pull back a little bit and let them take the lead. Then you'll see how much they really want it. You'll see if this is what they really want to do. Then you won't have to tell them. You won't have to tell them, oh, go practice. You don't have to tell them, go call your friends so you guys go work out at Rancho on a holiday. So yeah, you'll see that drive, that desire that they want to be a better athlete. And if not, then sometimes they don't have that, which it happens. It's nothing bad. It's just, but yeah, definitely being there, that support initially, because they won't go out to practice. I wouldn't have. But it got to the point where I knew what I wanted to do.
No, I think that, you can tell that you both had really supportive parents, and, it shows. You guys had great parents that helped you pursue your dreams, and that's wonderful. And I think, Mrs. Ellison said it, parents out there, just making sure you make time for yourself too, because you're chauffeuring kids back and forth to practices, and you're making sure they're fed, and you're doing everything for your babies, but make sure you take care of yourself.
All the mom and dads out there, thank you guys.
Yes. Our
Keep going.
moderator is telling me we have about 5 minutes. So I do want to get to the very last question. And I think this is more probably in terms of what Mr. Ferrer and Mrs. Ellison may offer right now, as far as like during these COVID times, knowing all these changes are happening, what advice would you give student athletes and their parents to make sure that they're on the right track to achieving their goals?
Can I tackle that real quick?
Yes.
I see it. There's a question in the chat that kind of goes along with that, and the question in the chat says, how do student athletes get recruited now during the pandemic? The students are not being contacted by their coaches, and so, advice during these COVID times. The way I would answer that, to this parent is, if they're in high school and you're talking about the coaches are not contacting them, just be patient, because as we get hopefully we're moving forward, and we'll get a chance to bring the other sports back, as we just began conditioning for fall sports. And just be patient, and hopefully soon we'll be able to include other sports as we move along. But along those lines, during this time, as a student athlete, you gotta stay ready. You gotta work out on your own. You have to put in the work as much as you can, and I would be proactive. If you're at the age where maybe you're a junior or senior and you're looking to be recruited, be proactive and put yourself out there. There's so many mechanisms that are available to us now with technology that weren't there, back in my day. I would have had to send DVDs of myself if I wanted to, get a video out there. So nowadays, it's so easy to record some video, maybe find a highlight, get your name out there, and be your own advocate with those coaches, because it starts with you. If they see that you have an interest, and you may catch their eye if you send them something. So I would say be proactive with regards to your ability to try to turn some heads of college coaches if you're at that point. If you're a freshman or sophomore, it's that part is not as urgent, depending on the sport, obviously, because some sports do recruit pretty far down into the high school level, like softball. They can snatch you up as early as middle school sometimes. So, but if you are, proactive and get yourself out there, you might open up some doors. And the last thing I'll say about that is keep an open mind as to where you can go, or where you might have an opportunity to play, because not everybody can be a star at UCLA or USC or a major school, but there's a million schools out there, and there's gonna be one for you if you put in the work, and you can play, and you can get it done academically. There's gonna be somewhere for you to go. And so even though we're in these pandemic times and we're not playing, there's somewhere for you to go if you put the work in and be proactive about it.
Okay.
Thank
Now,
you.
1 minute. I'm just
1
gonna-
minute, Mrs. Ellison. Thank you, Mr.
Really?
Ferreira.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's great advice. So what I would like to say briefly to parents and students, make sure you visit the eligibility center itself. They have all the latest updates. I know people are asking, like for the class of 2021, do I have to have SAT, ACT test scores? No, you do not. That's only for the class of 2021. There's also some changes about waivers and core progressions. Pass, fail. The pass grades will only serve to help you, never to hurt you for underclassmen. Make sure that you're taking your 16 core courses, 2.3 minimum GPA, still with COVID. And then what Steve said, condition on your own. And then last but not least, make sure you're following all safety precautions, and mental health is important. During COVID times, you guys already have all the stressors on the students, but you may also be dealing with isolation issues. You may not be able to practice with your team or see your friends. So if your normal stress relievers may not be available to you, you may not be able to go to the gym. So it's very important to utilize your support system. Okay.
All right, and she got that out in less than a minute. Thank you all for joining us. Reach out to us. Mrs. Ellison is the NCAA counselor out here. Mr. Ferreira, our athletic director. If you have questions, definitely get to our website, find their email address, and send them those questions. They'd be more than happy to help. Thank you, Carlos, Brittany, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for
I
having me.
believe,
Thank you
Mr.
so much.
Brockman, are we out? I think he says, I think we're done.
Sorry, Miss Robinson. I didn't mean to take up your time.
Got the picture. I did it. How many times did we hit it? Until
Did you stop?
I would hit it until you completely are completely out.
Oh, is it done?
All right, we're good.